Well, that's what they say about the Celtics, that they had some kind of history that they had to memorize, and they wouldn't
Oh,
write
this,
anything
yeah,
down, so they don't have any written
yeah,
history. They just find artifacts. And I think
yeah.
Julius Caesar wrote that he had visited them, and they were sorcerers,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
were pretty technologically advanced,
The Druids, yeah.
which which I think sorcerers back then just meant like scientists. It wasn't like a supernatural thing. They were just
He was like the habitat.
scientifically inclined, but they don't have any written history. And supposedly it was like they feared other people getting that knowledge and using it against them. So at some point, and this is all theorized because they don't really know anything about that.
Yeah, everything
You
we know
know,
about the Celts and the Gauls and all that is from the Roman side of things because they're the only
yeah,
ones who kept documents.
yeah, yeah. And who knows if they even really knew? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're basically getting like Roman propaganda, anti-Celtic propaganda.
Yeah, which is like our political system here in America.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the Celtic people. There was a time in Europe where all the way from Scotland up to the Black Sea, where Ukraine and Russia is bombing the heck out of each other, was Celtic-speaking people, and they were the basically the indigenous people in Europe. And then slowly these Germanic speakers came, and then in the Italian peninsula, the early Latin speakers came, and from one of these Latin-speaking groups, the Romans popped up, and then they consolidated power in the Italian route, and then they pushed out from there into the Mediterranean, kicked the Greeks out, you know, naval supremacy, and then next thing you know, they became the largest empire in Europe. And the first victims of this Roman expansion were the Celtic people.
Are you familiar with the Bog people?
Bog precision people. No, just kidding.
No, no, a
I,
BOG Bog.
yeah, yeah, like their remains were mummified, and
Yeah, they throw them in this bog, and they I guess it's so toxic, bacteria doesn't exist in it, so these people remain
preserved, like
almost
mummified.
imperfect. Yeah, like perfect, beyond mummified. I mean, they're perfectly preserved. It looks like.
Oh,
Yeah, I think there was some Roman writings that said that they considered them. One thing about them they considered barbaric was they would take their prisoners and they would have like a sort of like mapped out on the floor what options that they had to or choices to make, and they would like slit the prisoner's throat, and however the blood splurted out, they would make choices based on where this blood landed on the floor.
yeah, kind of,
And
yeah,
he,
ringing the bell, yeah.
yeah, and these bog people all have slit throats and shit. So they were thinking that these were the people, and they're all dressed like Peter Pan or something.
I
They got
know
like little
exactly.
utility belts on, and
I know. I so can imagine what you're talking about. And they had those leather strap boots with the that
yeah.
went all the way up the ankle.
hmm Another thing I predict is that. See, I don't know if there's going to be a direct conflict with the U.S. and someone else, or if the United States is just going to be going around participating in all these different wars that we're not directly involved in. But I think that there's going to be possibly that they're going to need to do a draft.
Yeah.
But I do, and this is what I think is going to happen is they're going to propose no draft, and they're going to offer citizenship to all the illegal immigrants if
I
they do
believe that
like
too. Yeah.
if they do service in the military. And at that point, you're going to have almost an entirely foreign-born military.
It won't surprise me to see like people in uniform patrolling American streets who don't speak English or who speak broken English.
Well, see, that's what I think is going to happen. I think at some point there's going to be some kind of need. They're going to need. I think how they're going to try to get the American people. I don't know if you realize, but recently I think they ruled that women have to sign up for the draft now too. And I really think that when they tell people, oh, we're going to have to do a draft, or we can sort of offer citizenship to all these illegal immigrants, and they can serve the country for like 3 to 5 years, and they can get a citizenship path that way. I think a lot of people will be like, yeah, do that. You know, we don't want to be drafted and taken away from our families and homes. And at that point, you know, it'll start off, they'll be shipping these guys out to fight wars and stuff, but eventually you're going to see them patrolling the streets of the countries they're in. I don't even think this is going to happen just in America. I think it's going to happen probably in most of the Western countries, where you're going to see the majority of the military is going to be foreign born. And when they're given orders, they don't really understand. You know what I mean? Like if you were to tell Americans, okay, you're going to go patrol the streets as military and crack heads, and
They're gonna have second thoughts because yeah, that's kind of what
yeah, we know our rights, and we know that's not right, you know.
100%.
But these foreign people, they don't really know. They just know that this is what they got to do to get their citizenship.
Yeah.
So they're not going to ask questions. They're going to do stuff that against the actual people of that country to get them in line.
100%. I always wondered why the American military was, I don't like using the term, but going woke. But it makes sense when you think about the power structure. Like they're gonna have to rely a lot on Silicon Valley and the tech sector of the American power generation matrix. And these guys, let's be honest, like the guys in San Francisco, most of them, they're liberal minded. A lot of them are pro LGBT. They're not like the typical militiaman. Because you'd think if America wanted the most ruthless pro-American soldiers, all they do is, all these patriot like type militias that are already present, they'll just incorporate them into the military. But no, they are actually nervous about these guys, and I think it's because they're placating or kissing or sucking up to their revenue source, which is Silicon Valley, Wall Street, and these are liberal, um, feminist types. That's why they're trying to make the military, you know, more palatable to those groups.
Well, what do you think about this? I notice social media. We're coming up on an election year.
Mhm.
Social media has been pretty ruthless with free speech, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like if you're not following the mainstream narrative, they kick you right off. And I've seen, as we're entering an election year, they seem to be getting way more lax on that.
Yeah,
You're seeing these fact checkers are starting to go away.
and they have Trump back in Twitter, I believe, or something like that.
Yeah, and Alex Jones.
Oh yeah, and Alex Jones is back.
And you're starting to see Alex Jones pop up a lot more on YouTube. I mean, before, if you even like commented on the guy, they would remove it. You know, but you're seeing a lot more. He's going on a lot of other people's shows now, and they're allowing it to stay up. And I could see him probably returning to YouTube as well.
Yeah, easy.
But why would you go through all this for 3 years, and then in the election year, you just let it all fly?
I honestly think 99% of these decisions, they happen through compromises, threats of violence, actual violence being meted out in the backroom negotiations between the different groups. Like, what's his name? I've heard of what's his name, the Mark Zuckerberg guy, the Facebook guy. He's building a
Yes.
bunker in Hawaii. Do you think do you think the Facebook people don't have militias? Like, not directly, like, oh, we're the Facebook army, but Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, all these Wall Street people, they can raise an army, and I think they get compromise, like threats sometimes, bigger than they can handle, makes them shut down people or release people that they shadow banned. Man, what happens in the back rooms is crazy. Like, the more you deep dive into politics and geopolitics, you realize the international relations realm, or whatever you want to call it, it's a jungle. Like, these are just, like, the only thing that really works is threats and blackmail and compromise and dossiers of dirt and things like that. So, believe me, like, Alex Jones returning, it wasn't by accident. It was negotiated and all these things behind closed doors.
You've got several states saying that Trump is not eligible to run because he took part in an insurrection. He is not charged with an insurrection.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone is charged with an insurrection. So there's no possibility he's going to be convicted of an insurrection. So I don't see how you can use an insurrection to keep him off the ballot. Yet I just have this feeling the Supreme Court is going to rule that it's up to the states. They're not going to get involved.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think there's up to 12 states that probably will take Trump off the ballot. Not just for the primaries. I don't think. I mean, Trump could probably still win the Republican nomination, even if you took him off 12 states. I mean, he's got that big of a lead.
Yeah. Nobody likes Biden.
No, but the
I,
thing of
I
it is, they can keep. He'll also be kept off those states' federal elections, from my understanding.
okay.
Which that's where it would really hurt him. And so, yeah, the Republican Party probably would not want to. If that's the case, they probably would not want to put him up as the candidate if he's off the ballot in 12 states. Um, I think that's going to rub people the wrong way. And it may not even be that. The Supreme Court may rule, yeah, you have to put Trump on the ballot. I think they've got, I mean, if that doesn't work, they're going to try to quickly convict him of something and try to say he's a criminal, and and they're going to try to make them rule on that. You know what I mean? Hope they can get him off the ballot that way. I would say possibly even all the way up to just getting rid of him. You know what I mean? If they have to.
Threats of assassinations, all that will be put on the table. I agree, man.
If something like that happened, I think even just Trump being taken off the ballot could rile people up enough to go out and try to do something. You've got crazies in every group.
I think, like, worst case scenario, I see this. I honestly see this. Trump being forced out of the country just because of all the legal proceedings and bullshit, and him operating from overseas. And my candidacy, you're gonna laugh at this, is Dubai. Like, I actually see, like, an exiled Trump still, communicating with his base, the MAGA crowd and everything, but he's not. Maybe he's in Israel, maybe he's in Dubai. Something happening in America that forces him out for his own safety or something or another. What's your take on that? I see that being a possibility too, because of the the Dems just going all the way in with, you know, keeping the
Well,
MAGA people out.
they may give him, they may, you know, they even gave offers to Saddam Hussein to go live in Europe, you know, they may just leave.
Yeah,
We won't come in here and kill you, you know. They may tell him something like that, you know. I don't think that's what they want to do because, I mean, if you have to do that to, if that's the only choice you're given, I mean, I feel like they would do it, you know. But if they can't do it in any other way, because doing that makes that person a murderer, you know.
I was gonna say, and then he's gonna set a precedent. He won't be the first to do that. Like it might happen every election from there on.
I would say if something happened to Trump, that would probably cause somebody to try to retaliate against the other side some way. You might see a tit for tat, you know.
Yeah.
But that might be what they want, right? That gets back into why, to me, they're getting very lax on social media. You know, they're allowing people to start talking more freely
Yeah.
right when they're doing all this fucked up shit. And then that, to
Bloody hell.
me, could cause people to fucking go out and do some fucked up shit.
You're already seeing it with the Gaza stuff. Everyone's going crazy on Twitter, and then people are being doxxed or being on a protest. At least here, things are crazy, like the things people are saying on Twitter. And one thing I've noticed, maybe I'm just noticing this now, but they allow bludgeoned Palestinian babies like it's nothing on Twitter. And it's actually pro-Palestinians who are also doing the sharing, which I don't like, but like this is gore. I remember there used to be specific websites people used to go to for these kinds of images and footage, but now you just see it on Twitter. Like it's like they're even allowing bloody images that you know. I
Oh,
don't understand.
Twitter! Twitter is horrible.
Yeah, I don't like Twitter, man.
Yeah, I just got on there the other day, and because I'm trying to, I don't know, I don't like Instagram because, like, I don't know, for instance, one day I hovered a little too long. You know, I'm scrolling through and I see this fucked up dog,
Mhm.
half his face hanging off,
Oh
and it
no.
says something like, "Oh, everybody thinks I'm ugly. Give me a like," you know. And I'm just like, what the fuck is it? I'm like, oh my god, you know, it's like the skin, like half this dog's face, the skin's completely gone, you know, and somehow it's still alive. And um, but now that's all I see because I hovered too long on that picture.
Oh no, yeah. So now the algorithm is messing with you
Yeah, so I see all these fucked up animals, like every other post, man, like half eaten off faces saying, you know, love me even though I'm ugly and all this fucking shit. And I'm like, I don't want to watch this shit no more, man. So I started going over to Twitter. You see a lot of racist
Oh yeah,
stuff against white people,
yeah.
which you'll see like a white kid getting beat up by like three black kids, like brutally. Head being stomped on by three different black kids, and then you see the comments, and it's like now there's like racist white people coming out going, you know,
Retaliating with comments. Yeah,
with comments against, you know, it's like turning them racist, you know.
yeah. It's so funny how radicalized Twitter makes the people on Twitter, the different camps. They are just like it's a war. It's an online war, like the for and the against, or the pro and the anti. They really hate each other. You don't see that in YouTube, like the YouTube comments or um, like Twitch or Kick or. But yeah, but these are different. These are streaming platforms, and that's just
Oh, I've never seen. I mean, the videos I see every day on X this last week is some of the harshest I've. I mean, when the internet first came out, they had websites like Rotten.com where they would have the terrorist videos of people getting decapitated, shit like that. That was very hard to watch. And then that kind of like became more hard to find. I mean, I'm sure you can always find that shit, but I would find that shit routinely without even trying to find it back in the very early days. You know, I mean, people would always send me, like, I remember there was a video called Three Guys, One Hammer or something like that. And I
Okay.
think it was two Russian kids who were beating this other kid in the head with a hammer, and then they took a screwdriver and stuck it in the guy's eyeball. And people would send it to you and go, "Hey, this is a video of the new Metallica, video or something." And you
Oh,
would
so it's like
play
a
it, and
Rick
it's
Roll
yeah, it
before
was
Rick
like
Roll.
Rickroll, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Or
like a
you had
sick
the guy,
Rick
one
Roll.
guy, one jar, where some guy has a jar up his ass and a glass jar, and it breaks, and he started bleeding all over the fucking place.
Oh man,
And like you don't even want to see that shit. Mr. Hands, the guy that
I
died
heard.
fucking
Well,
a
yeah,
horse.
I've
Like
heard. Was
I
there
never
footage?
looked for that stuff, but I would always just come across it. Just cruising the internet.
Yeah.
But nowadays I don't really come across that stuff. But on X, you come across that stuff, and like I follow very few people. I don't know what it's basing, what I'm seeing, but I see a lot of stuff that would upset white people against black people, basically.
Yeah.
It's usually
Yeah.
a bunch of black people attacking some white kid or something like that, and then they'll have a bunch of comments laughing about it, and then inevitably, the farther you go down, you just see like 1,000 white people come in there and just start talking shit about black people. You know,
Yeah. The one
uh,
thing I never understood is how like the other white kids would not come to to help out
I
white
think
kids who
they
come
fear
from.
being seen as racist. You know.
Because where I grew up, like Somalis were always, and this is like the '90s, late '90s. Like if a Somali girl was being harassed by anyone, like she could literally summon 30, 40 Somali kids and just say, this guy is bugging me, this guy's harassing me, and 40 Somali guys will come in vans and you know but yeah, that could also had its bad side, like Somalis ganging up on people. But
Yeah, but imagine a truckload of white people pulling up.
yeah, that's
What
not a
what
good
a
look.
Yeah, that's not a good look. So people don't want to they don't want to involve
Associated,
themselves. You know.
good point. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's literally a stereotype of here comes a bunch of racists going at. So like even if they deserve it, it just it's going to be turned around that you're a racist. You know, people don't want to get involved in that. They don't want to like the worst thing to be perceived as a white person is a
there's,
racist.
there's too much stigma to the racist label.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I like I said to me, I don't. I feel like there really is only the human race. When you get into like gender, how they're saying there's 50 genders and all this shit,
Yeah,
I feel like race is very much the same way. It's sort of an abstract idea.
same. Yeah,
You're basing it on a skin color or what area of the world you came from. But the fact of the matter is, if you pair up any of these different races, they can have babies together and viable babies. You know, they're the same thing. They're just different colors. You know, they're just human beings, and we have to get away from looking at each other as races. That's the only way we can get beyond that. You know.
yeah. Having an idea, an abstract idea that is bigger than skin color, bigger than, and I think there's only two things in the world that has that ability, and that is citizenship, or patriotism, national, whatever you want to call it, like being part of a country where you see yourself as a countryman, no matter whatever the person's color is, and or religion, and religion being your
Mm.
faith, because I believe in souls. I believe in human beings having souls, and the color and the race of the individual being, the only thing it serves is so that you have your god-given ID, but besides that it has no significance. Like somebody could be my twin, but if he's like a satanist, he's my enemy even though he's my identical twin. And then you, if we're the same religion in Islam, we're considered brothers in Islam. Right?
I think nowadays, I think at one point people were legitimately their race. I mean, like they're from an area where everybody's exactly like them,
Yeah.
and they're the same religion and everything. And I think you could identify like that more. But in today's world, I believe the new tribes are based on class.
Yeah. So true.
Because no matter what race you are, you've got a rich class, you got a poor class, and you got a middle class, and they don't necessarily have the same ideologies, wants, needs, or desires, but
So
they're the
true,
same
man.
color. But what the people that do have the same wants, needs, and desires are the people in the poor class, middle class, and the elite class.
Yeah. You're right. Like an American billionaire has more in common with a Russian billionaire than than he has with
Right.
those like people in the 10 cities who are also American.
Exactly. And they really, I think they do a good job at waging class warfare by keeping our attention on what race we are. But if you look at statistics, you're most likely to be a victim of a crime from somebody who's the most like you. So, for
Yeah.
instance, I mean, it starts off with your family. The people closest to you are the most probable to victimize you. And it doesn't matter if it's theft, rapes, anything.
Yep.
Family members are the most likely. And then when you get out of that, it's, what race you
Yeah.
are. So black people tend to be victims of crimes by other black people.
Yep.
White people, the majority of the crimes committed against them are committed by white people. Asians, same way.
Just be
But
based
we're
on their circle of
Yeah, but we're
friends.
all like trained to like be worried about the people that aren't like us. But if you just logically look at the numbers, you need to be worried about the people most like you. you know?
It's so true. And if you look at the world, the people who hate each other the most are the people who resemble each other. Like the North and South Koreans can't stand each other, but they're both Korean. And like,
Right.
look at what's happening in it's kind of, but like in Iraq, the Sunnis and the Shias and the Kurds, like you can't tell them apart unless they tell you their names and all that. And it's always someone who looks like you the most. Like, what's that saying? Familiarity breeds contempt, I think, or something like that. Like, it's the people who you're operating with on a daily basis that you hate the most because you're just dealing with them the most.
I think it actually goes from it's like most likely it's a relative, and then from there it's like a friend. And then from there it's like the same race, you know, same economic. It's like, so if you're a poor person, you're most likely going to get stolen from by another poor person. Middle class, same way, because it's most likely somebody in my area.
Yeah.
Yeah, you occasionally get these people that go into richer neighborhoods and try to pull crimes, but there's a lot of fuckers just right around in the middle class. If they see the chance to get a free lawnmower or a bicycle or something, they'll just fucking take it, man.
Yeah.
They're not rich.
We had our snowblower stolen from us. Um, this is like a couple years ago. I forgot to close the garage door. You know when you hit the remote on the garage and you think it closes all the way down, but it does, and then it opens up. It opens back up. That's what happened. And for the whole afternoon, the garage was open, exposed. So somebody in the neighborhood saw the snowblower in the front of the garage and they took it. It was
Yeah,
last
they
year.
they might have just needed a snowblower and didn't want to buy one, or maybe they were a drug addict or something.
I think that's what happened. They sold it because we
Yeah.
waited that whole winter to see if somebody was using it in the neighborhood. every time there was a snowfall, I'd drive around just looking
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
But that would be too stupid. Like